Well, we were just talking about diseases in soybeans, Darren, but there are diseases in corn too, and a lot of times they all get lumped together as corn stalk rot late in the season.
Well, okay, I'll just start with this. A lot of people say, well, what am I going to do mid-season now? Maybe I've got my weed control all taken care of and I don't have any bugs out there. Why do I need to be out in my fields every week and what should I be looking for? Well, some of the things that you should be looking for is what's going on inside your plants. Dig up some plants every week, slice them open, see what the middle of that stalk looks like, make sure the roots are healthy, all these things. If you're keeping an eye on your fields week to week, a lot of times you'll be able to pick up on just some minor differences that are going on out there that could be significant later on in the season. Now, one of those that we're seeing this year in corn, and we're anticipating across a wide part of the corn growing area in our country, is stalk rot issues because we were cooler and wetter this spring. A lot of the stalk rot issues, they aren't something that pops up mid-season. It's something that happened early in the season. Your plant got an infection, and now it's going to manifest itself later in the season.
Okay, so the key word you said there was infection. How do we stop plants from getting infection? Just like in soybeans, if we have good drainage, that's number one. But after that, unlike soybeans that some of them are treated, some of them are not, all corn seeds are already treated. So aren't the fungicides good enough on that seed to stop some of this stuff?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not saying the fungicides are bad, but you can't be perfect and you can't protect against everything. And it gets right back into some of the things that we were talking about before. Crop rotation, if you're going to be continuous corn, you're going to have corn on corn on corn on corn, and we do on some of our ground. We'll do the same thing. You're just putting yourself out there where if there was a little bit of disease last year, now it overwinters in that residue and in your soil, and you're planting corn right back in there, and you could see more of a chance of having one of these issues. So that's one of the things that you have to look at. And then just think about that corn root system and how big it gets. If it's early in the season, dig up a corn plant that's 4 inches tall. All of a sudden, you've got a root that's already down at least a foot. And you think about the tiny little amount of fungicide we're putting on that seed, and we're expecting that to protect this huge root system on a corn plant. It's just not even possible to do. Yeah, you can protect a little bit for a little while, but then you get this great big root system. And the other thing, Brian, that comes into play is insects, because once you get that great big root system, here comes a corn rootworm, boom. He bites into that root a little bit. Even if it's a BT corn and he dies, well, big deal. He already left a wound there for infection.
Right, or it could be foliar insects as well. So what a lot of farmers are doing now is they're spraying fungicide early in the season, like at V5 to V7, and then again around tasseling time, or at full tassel typically is when guys are spraying. So when a farmer would do those two things, obviously that's going to help out with the stalk rot issue. That doesn't necessarily always translate to better yield, but even on our own farm, we have seen we can go through and combine maybe a little bit faster. The plants are standing a little better. So what I always advise guys to do when it gets late in the season, getting around harvest time, look at all your fields right before harvest and find out where the stalk rot is the worst. That's the field you need to be combining first.
Well, and then the other thing that you absolutely have to think about, starting right now, looking at next year's crop, look at the tolerance that different hybrids have, because there is certainly a difference when we think about some of the big stalk rots like anthracnose and gibberella and fusarium and diplodia. There are huge differences in genetics, so you can actually pick a hybrid that's going to be better at fighting some of these diseases.
Yep, well, corn stalk rot can be a major issue. So like we say, pick the right varieties, use some fungicides, and obviously have good drainage and good weed control on your farm. Well, unfortunately, our weed of the week just doesn't seem to get stalk rot, Darren. I wish it did, but we'll tell you what will stop this weed coming up next.